Let's crochet the sunflower as our next project in the Crochet Flower Bouquet Series. This is a beginner-friendly, easy step-by-step pattern. So let's get started.
Hey guys, welcome to DIY Crafts.
For this project, I am using 4-ply, fine weight, 100% cotton yarn with a crochet hook of 2.5 mm. Now let's begin with the magic circle. I'm beginning with the brown color yarn. Make a magic ring and from the center insert your hook and take your working end out of the center. Now hold the loop on your hook and pull the starting tail end to adjust the circle. Make the circle good enough so that you can hold it with both your fingers like as shown in the video. Now make chain 1 and insert your hook into the center. Yarn under the hook. Pull out a loop from the center. Now you'll have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and make a single crochet. Now to mark the beginning of each and every stitch, every row, we are putting a stitch marker on top of the first stitch. So this is the first stitch of our row 1. So I put a stitch marker on top of the first stitch. Now again insert the needle into the center, yarn under and pull up a loop. Now yarn over and make a second single stitch. And we are going to repeat this pattern throughout the center until we have 6 single crochet stitches. So this is the 4th single stitch, 5 and 6. Now once you have all the 6 single stitches, check for the count and then pull the starting tail end tightly so that this closes the magic circle and all the stitches will form into a small round. Now we are going to the second row. Remove the stitch marker and insert your hook on top of the first stitch or the stitch from where you have removed your stitch marker. Now yarn under, pull up a loop and make 1 single stitch. So this is the beginning or the first stitch in your second row. So put a stitch marker in that stitch. Now put your needle into the same stitch again. Yarn under, pull up a loop and make 1 single stitch. So in the first stitch we have 2 single crochet stitches. So 2 single stitches worked in the same stitch is called as a single crochet increase. Now we are going to make increases in all the stitches. So that is 2 single stitches in the second stitch. Again in the third stitch, that's first single stitch, and in the same stitch we are making 1 more single stitch. That is a third single stitch increase. Now do 3 more increases until you reach the starting point where we have the stitch marker. Here I am making the last increase of second row and we will have 12 single stitches by the end of the second row. Remove the stitch marker, make 1 single stitch in the next stitch and put the stitch marker back. And this marks the beginning of third row. Now for the third row, we have a pattern of 1 single stitch and 1 increase. So 1 single stitch is already completed. And now in the next stitch, I am making a single stitch increase. That is 2 single stitches into the same stitch. So 1 stitch and increase, and that is the pattern for your third row. And we are going to repeat this pattern of 1 single stitch and then 1 increase throughout the row for 6 times. So this is the second repetition that we are doing. So 1 stitch and 1 increase. So that is the second repetition. Now again we will do 1 single stitch and in the next stitch make 1 increase. That is the third repetition. And that's how we will repeat the pattern throughout the row. And we will have a total of 6 repetitions until you reach the starting point. And by the end of the third row, we will have 18 single stitches. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 4th row. Begin with 1 single stitch, put the stitch marker back, and this marks the beginning of the 4th row. And now make 1 single stitch in the next stitch. So that's 2 single stitches. And then in the next stitch we are going to make a single crochet increase. That is 2 single stitches into the same stitch. Now for this 4th row, 2 single stitch increase is the pattern that we have to repeat it 6 times. That's 1 single stitch and another single stitch in the next stitch and then increase in the later stitch, which means 2 single stitch and increase, and this is the second repetition of the fourth row. Now repeat this for 4 more times until you reach the starting point. Here I am making the last increase, and this completes the fourth row, and you will have 24 single stitches, and the shape will be little bumpy. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the fifth row. We have 3 single stitch and increase. So first let us begin by making 1 single stitch and then put a stitch marker on top of the first stitch. So that's first single stitch. And now this one is the second single stitch and 1 single stitch in the next one. So that's the third single stitch. So 3 single stitch completed. In the next stitch, make 1 single stitch increase. That is again 2 single stitches in the same stitch. So now for this row, we are going to repeat this pattern of 3 single stitch and increase throughout the row. So let's continue. That's 3 single stitches. And then in the next stitch, we have an increase. 3 stitches and increase. That's the second repetition, and repeat it for 4 more times until you reach the starting point. Now here I am making the last increase of the fifth row, and by the end of row 5 we will have 30 single stitches. Remove the stitch marker and let's continue for the 7th row or the 6th row. Begin with 1 single stitch, and for the 6th row pattern is 4 stitches and increase. So that's the second single stitch, third single stitch and fourth single stitch. After 4 single crochet stitches, in the next stitch we will make 1 increase, that is 2 single stitches into the same stitch. So that's 1, and in the same stitch make another 1. So 4 stitch and increase, and we will continue this for a total of 6 times. This is the second repetition. So that's 2, 3 and 4. Now in the next stitch there is an increase, that's 2 single stitches into the same stitch. So this completes the second repetition, 4 single stitches and increase, and continue this throughout the row until the first stitch. So here we have done the last increase, and by the end of the 6th row we will have 36 single stitches, and this forms the center part of our sunflower. And now for the last row of the center, we begin with a single crochet, put the stitch marker back into the first stitch, and now let's continue. And for the 7th row we are just going to make 1 single crochet on top of each and every stitch as in the previous row. So in row 6 we have 36 single stitches, and we will do 1 single stitch on top of each and every stitch. So by the end of the 7th row we will have 36 single stitches. So once it is done, remove your stitch marker and let's fasten off. So this kind of fasten off which I am showing gives you a nice and cleaner finish. If you are not aware of this one, you can always do slip stitch and chain one. So for this part, first we'll trim the yarn and pull the loop out of the hook, and then with the tapestry needle leave the next stitch, and in the later stitch insert your needle from front to back as shown in the video, and pull the thread out of the the first stitch, and then put your needle back into the last stitch and also into the back bump. So this gives you a cleaner and outer look, nice finishing. Okay, and now turn your work onto the back side and secure this by making a simple knot. So insert your needle into any of the nearby stitch and gently make a small knot to secure the closing thread. And once it is done, you can leave the thread into the stuffing part, or you can gently weave in that extra thread and then leave it. So the starting thread is also have to be secured, the thread which is coming out from the magic ring. So take that into the tapestry needle and then make a simple knot to the nearby stitch. So for that, insert it into any of the loops in the nearby and then make a simple knot that is close to the project. Once the thread is also secured, you can leave the threads into the middle part. So now the center part of the sunflower is completed. Now we are going to make the backside part of the sunflower, and for this part I am using the same pattern from row 1 to row 7, and I'm doing it with a green color yarn. So you'll have two circles of similar size. Now you can align the front and back parts together as shown in the video, and then we will start making the petals for our sunflower. So we have to insert our needle in such a way that the two loops of the front part and two loops on the back part, like the entire stitch on the front and back parts, are included together. And holding it this way, we are going to attach the yellow color yarn onto the hook. So every time whenever we are making a slip stitch or whenever we are going to start a new petal, it is important to insert the needle into both front and back panels. Now take the yellow color yarn and pull it out of both the stitches, and then make chain 1, pull the starting tail end to secure. Ignore this first chain 1, and for the petal make chain 2. Now we'll begin with the first petal, yarn over, and now while inserting the hook, make sure you put your needle into the next stitch of both front and back panels together as shown in the video, and if needed you can include the starting tail end also. Now yarn over and pull up a loop, and now make a double crochet. So that's the double crochet. Now yarn over 2 times, and we are going to do a triple crochet into the same stitch. Again insert your crochet hook into both front and back panels of the next stitch, and then drop a loop. Now yarn over and draw through 2 loops at a time until you complete the triple crochet. So that's a triple stitch, and now yarn over 3 times. We are going to do a double triple crochet into the same stitch again. So insert and drop a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, again yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through last 2. So that is your double triple crochet, and this will give you the tallest stitch. Now for the picot, make chain 3. Now insert your needle back into the front loop of the last stitch and front leg of the triple crochet. Now yarn over and make a slip stitch. So this will give you the pointed tip for our sunflower petal. That is the top of the petal. So this is the first half of the petal. Now we'll do the remaining half petal in the next stitch, and we'll begin with a double triple crochet. So yarn over 3 times and insert the needle into the next stitch. Anytime it have to insert it into both front and back panels. Now we are doing a double triple crochet, yarn over, pull through 2 and last 2. That's the double triple crochet. And now yarn over 2 times into the same stitch, make a triple crochet, drop a loop in, and then make a triple stitch. So it looks something like this. Now yarn over into the same stitch, make a double crochet stitch. And I'm including the starting tail end into each and every stitch so that I don't have to weave in the ends after completing the project. Now this is the second half of the petal. Now let us close the petal. So for this, make chain 2. So this is to balance the pattern. There is a chain 2 at the beginning of the petal, and now we are making a chain 2 at the end of the petal. And now into the next stitch, make a slip stitch. This completes the first petal. And you can tighten the slip stitch to make it more clean. Let's start making the second petal. We'll begin with chain 2. Now we will follow the same pattern that we have followed for the first petal. So this chain 2, and in the next stitch we'll start with making a double crochet. So here I have just tucked in the starting tail end into the center so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. So after completing the first double stitch, I have made the triple crochet. Now yarn over 3 times and make 1 double triple crochet into the same stitch. So in the single stitch, we have made 1 double stitch, 1 triple stitch and 1 double triple stitch. Now we'll make a picot stitch to give the tip of the petal. So make chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3. Now put your needle back into the front loop of the last stitch and the front leg of our double triple crochet, yarn over and make a slip stitch. That is the picot. Now the remaining half petal, begin with the double triple stitch. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and complete the double triple stitch. So first 2 loops, yarn over, second 2 loops, yarn over, third 2 loops, yarn over, last 2 loops. And then a triple crochet, yarn over 2 times into the same stitch, drop a loop and complete the triple crochet. Now again into the same stitch, we'll make 1 double stitch. So yarn over into the same stitch, pull up a loop and then complete the double stitch. Now here I have made the chain 2 and slip stitch in the next stitch to complete the second petal. So adjust the stitches a little bit to give you that nice finishing for your second petal. Now chain 2 and let's start making the third petal, and we'll use the same pattern that we have used for the previous petals. So we'll continue this throughout the row, and just before we have a couple of petals to complete, we'll stop it there. So here I have done approximately 7 petals, and here is when I have to add the flower stem. So I have took the flower wire and with the help of the pliers I am bending the tip of this flower stem. So gently twist it inwards so that it forms in the shape of a hook. So carefully bend the tip and squeeze them to have a very little gap in between the hook shape. Now identify the magic ring center on the green side or the back side of our sunflower and insert this flower stem through that magic circle. You can just poke it into the gap. Now pull it all the way through the center until the green center, the magic center, exactly sits on the hook shape that we have prepared on our flower stem. And to make it fixed, I am using a hot glue gun to secure the position of the flower on the stem. Now carefully fix this flower stem onto the glue and leave it to dry. Do not close the brown panel. We don't want both the sides to get stuck. So once the hot glue gun is completely dried, we will continue to make the petals and continue this until you have a gap of only the last petal of remaining part. So here we have a last petal remaining and there is a small opening in between the front and back panels. Here is when we will take a fiber fill and stuff it into the project, and I am using a tweezers to make it easier, or you can just push it with your fingers also. So take a good amount and fill it in such a way that the center is nice and firm. It shouldn't be so bulgy and at the same time it shouldn't be so flat. It should be good enough to hold the shape of a sunflower base. Now we are doing the last petal, starting off with the previous petal slip knot. Then we'll make chain 2 and we'll follow the same pattern that we are using to make the petals. So just for a quick review, I'm making it in a fast forward method. So there is a DC, 1 triple crochet and 1 double triple crochet into the same stitch, and then chain 3 and a picot stitch, and in the next stitch we'll make a double triple crochet and then 1 triple crochet in the same stitch and then 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Now chain 2 and the final slip stitch goes into the first stitch where we have started. Then make chain 1 and then trim the excess thread, leaving a tail end of 2 to 3 inches. Pull out the thread and make a final knot. Now adjust the petals slightly to give a nice shape. Now with the tapestry needle we are going to hide this tail end across few petals, and once the tail end is hidden you can just push the excess thread into the stuffing part and then we will trim the excess thread close to the project. So this completes the stem part of our sunflower. Now the next thing, we will make a leaf for our flower. So for this leaf we are going to begin with slip knot and we'll make chain 16. So that's the slip knot and chain 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then we'll make one more chain, that is the 16th one. So before making the 16th one, hold this 15th chain. Now we will start working from this 15th chain. Insert your hook into the top loop of the stitch, and this is where we will insert the wire. So here this one is a 26 gauge flower wire which I am using, and you put your wire on top of the needle along with the top loop of the chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop and make a single crochet. So that is your first single stitch. And now in the next stitch, make one more single stitch. So throughout the foundation chain, whenever we are making a stitch, we will include our wire along with the foundation chain. Now yarn over, pull up a loop from the next chain, and we made a half double crochet, and in the next stitch we are making one more half double crochet. So until now we have done 2 single stitch and 2 half double stitch. Now in the next 7 chains we are going to make 1 double stitch in each stitch while including the wire. So into the next stitch we have made the first double crochet. Yarn over into the next chain, that's the second double stitch. This is the third double crochet. 4, 5, 6, and we have to make one more double stitch. That's the 7th double crochet. After completing 7 double stitches, you will see 4 more chains remaining. Now in the next 2 chains we will make 2 half double crochet. That's first half double stitch. In the next chain, that's the second half double stitch. 2 HDs is completed. In the next 2 stitches we will make 1 single stitch in each. So 2 single stitches, that's 1, and this is 2. This completes the first half of the leaf. Now we are going to do the second side or the other half of the leaf on the other side of the foundation chain. Press the wire gently so that there won't be any gaps in between the center of the leaf. Now turn your work in such a way that you can put your needle into the bottom loops of the foundation chain, include the wire, drop a loop and make a single stitch. So we are exactly following the same pattern that we have followed on the first half of the leaf. So that's 1 single stitch. Now in the next stitch, while inserting the needle, make sure you insert it into the bottom loops and include the starting tail end and wire and make a single crochet. So we have done 2 single crochets on the other side of the leaf. And to reduce the gap in between the stitches, you can just press this flower wire close to each other and the gap will automatically be reduced. Now in the next 2 stitches we are making half double crochet. So that's the first one, and now we are doing the second one. As I have previously said, always include the starting tail end and the wire. Now in the next 7 stitches we are making double crochets. So that's 1, this is 2, this one is the third stitch, 4, 5, 6 and 7. After 7 DCs, we'll have 4 more stitches remaining. We'll do 2 half double stitch and 2 single stitches. So that's the first half double stitch and the second half double stitch. and in the last two we are making single stitches. So that's 1 and 2. Now identify the first stitch, the first single crochet. Insert your needle on top of the first stitch and then make a slip stitch. Now make chain 1 and then trim the yarn, leaving a tail end of 3 to 4 inches. Fasten off, pull out the loop and make a knot. So this is the leaf which we are going to attach it to the base of our flower stem. Now wrap this extra thread around the wire as shown in the video until it covers a gap of like up to 1 inch. After that, you can gently secure this thread in between the wires and twist the wire. Now we will trim out the extra thread and also trim the excess wires. So this completes the leaf part. Now let us assemble the leaf and the main flower all together. Now turn the flower upside down and put it on your table as shown in the video. Now with the help of the hot glue gun, and I am taking a green color yarn, put a patch of glue around 1 inch of length and attach your green color yarn as shown in the video. And now start wrapping up the green color yarn around the stem, one line after the other line without any overlaps, and wrap it gently around it. And after covering it up to a certain level or up to like 3 to 4 inches, include the leaf and again continue to wrap it around the stem, and continue this until the end of the flower stem, and occasionally you can secure this with the help of a glue. And once we are reached the end, again secure the thread with the few amount of hot glue gun and complete your flower. And now as a finishing touch, put a very little amount of a hot glue gun at the base of the flower stem to attach it to the flower base. So this helps to secure the flower without any wobbly head. And with that, your beautiful sunflower stem is ready to be a part of your flower bouquet. I hope you all enjoyed watching this tutorial. Do give this pattern a try and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. The written pattern is given in the description. Do check it out. Don't forget to share your work to me on Instagram. See you all in the next video.
Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it and subscribe to DIY Crafts.